Welcome back, everybody, to Civilization Restarts. I know I missed the upload schedule. Let's not talk about it. Left off was the red team just got to Morocco. So okay. So how it's gonna we're going to expand on the Moroccan storyline. But first, we're gonna finally address the situation in Asia over here. Because right now it's a mess. There's like 6,000 countries. None of them have a storyline. So we're actually going to have a new country forming. Obviously, it's Asia. That's the entire point of the Asian part of my series. Every country that name I can think of gets to be in here. Um, this one is going to be detached from the Chinese, like the Qing dynasty, like lineage claim, because all of these guys claim each other's lands in somewhere. Like these guys have border disputes with these guys have border disputes with and these guys have border disputes with these guys have border disputes with these guys have border disputes over here, over down here. They all hate each other. This new country though, we need a good color. This is not used. I don't think. Is it? Please no. Okay, it's not unused. This is actually funded by these guys, the Saigon Republic. Saigon, Hanoi. I don't know what I named them, but they're funded by them because these guys want a buffer that isn't just empty land. They want a buffer between them and all of the shenanigans up here that isn't empty land. So yeah, that happens. So yeah, like always, it's basically two separate stories. The world is like divided, kind of. It's like this. The entire world. Oh, and then the entire world is divided like this. And yep, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is also divided right like that. And this goes all the way over here, goes over here, and then it starts keeps going down infinitely. But these guys are their own storyline, so they're all separate from that. And then all of this, so this side is Asian storyline. This side is most of the storyline you're familiar with. And these guys haven't done anything for a while, so they're their own storyline. Anyways, let's so yeah, we're gonna begin over in here where the destable situation, especially with the new countries popping up that have no correlation to like the old world kind of going off, forming their own stuff. Oh, these guys don't have a capital yet. Do they deserve a capital? They're a blue team puppet state. Do they deserve a capital? Anyway, the situation actually gets really bad because these guys go to war with the North. And now this isn't good. You know why this isn't good? It's not good because neither side is prepared for this. That is not the same color. I am mistaken. Neither side is prepared for this, and that is due to the severely similar cultures, but both the rulers absolutely despise each other. So people on both sides refuse to fight their brothers and sisters. So they get pushed back. But eventually one of the tribes over here finally accepts the war as like something that is supposed to happen. And so a finally stable front is created, but only in a very small part. Over here these guys are like, oh, stable front. Never heard of it. And so back and forth in this region eventually lead to a stalemate. But eventually the stalemate's won in the north, where these guys make their own stable front. However, that eventually is destroyed after a huge push. Lots of people are conscripted, lots of people are slain, but a huge front is launched across all the territories of South Himalayas. And now the reason for this is because the capital is like right there. And all this, I don't know if it is like that in real life, but all that in this world is just empty land. Empty land. This is paired with rebels up here, which call themselves the Mughals. Not the Mughals from our timeline. I'm just gonna reuse that name. But they're going to break away, which is a large part, as you can see, a very large part of the country. Uh, over here, a tribe that was allied to the crown of the north is eventually rebels and joins the south in its war. And then yeah, okay, so now it's looking pretty bad for these guys. Where did I just teleport to? Um, okay. So, eventually, one of their greatest generals captures the capital, kills the king, and well, now all of this is just destruction. Eventually the king's son steps up and he's like, okay, yeah, we surrender, and so he's exiled. Stay tuned for his story, but he's exiled. He's exiled. He takes a boat to over here, let's say, where he's gonna live the rest of his life and die. But This is completely the storyline. Now, obviously, all this land is not going to be able to be kept under the control of anybody because most of that land wasn't even under the control of the North Himalayans. So actual control is going to look like that. And the Tajikistanis, even though they got their independence, they don't want much of the land that was there. They want only the land that was Tajikistani. So all of this huge, vast amounts of land are just uncolonized, just like that. They cease to exist. No longer are they there. They have been returned to the wilderness. Trust me. Okay. First, so the Tajikistanis are actually going to keep that color. They have no correlation to that state. I just don't want to go through the pain of choosing a new color. But they're going to pick that color, or not the Tajikistanis, the Mughals. My bad. And they're going to have their capital like right there. Uh, uh, um. Now back to the Moroccan storyline, where if you're Moroccan, it's not going well for you. But if you're a red team noble with a lot of money, it's amazing right now for you. It's absolutely amazing. You want to know why it's amazing? It's amazing because you have so much gold to mine now, especially with like your companies. Um, they're gonna mine a lot of gold. Now, a lot of these rich nobles, that's what they thought too. That what I just said was true, and that they could get their workers and their like employees in their companies, because almost all of them own some sort of business, to just go mine the gold. They would like expand. They would take over the natural resources industry. They'd be like Shell. But sadly, that's not true. The red team's new king, he's he completely industrializes. He nationalizes everything in the Moroccan province. Everything. All of this is Carthaginian stuff. This is red team territory. This is the crown. This is the crown's. This, and this is the crown's territory. This is a Moroccan, semi-autonomous Moroccan thing. This is Carthage. This is red team territory. This is the Sinai. This is red team. Then this is kind of Turkey, but not really. And then also these two are both crown territories. But if the crown, which de facto it isn't, but if we were to minus the nobles' territories, like territories that are dominated by the nobles, it would look a lot more like this. This would all just like the industries would be dominated by rich people, but it's not like that because all those industries eventually link back to the government, so it doesn't really matter. But that's gonna be important because a lot of these people now start moving over to Morocco only to find out that they can't benefit from this. And as more gold is found along the coastline, more bases are set up. Even inland, more bases are set up. More land is taken away from the Moroccan province and given to the crown itself. Um, and eventually, the Moroccans are pushed all the way down to over here, all the way down to just this. All the gold-rich land, all of it is left to the crown. And this leads to a Moroccan uprising. After protests, Morocco gains back a little bit of land, but most of it is still under the complete control of the red team crown. And the red team also states that they will not be giving back any more land. And eventually, in the north, after some incursions into crown territory, the crown takes even more. Especially this town, which was the homeland, the hometown of the current Moroccan province's like mayor type thing. All of this is eventually gets too much for the Moroccans, and they rebel. A rebellion of a state that is so rich in gold. This actually triggers a complete civil war because everyone's like, "No, we cannot lose this. You will make peace no matter what." And so a large portion of the nobles um pay money to a lot of people to fight on their behalf. And eventually, the red team, with their strong military, because all the gold has been going to the military for the most part, absolutely demolishes. They quickly start cooking, deep frying, battering the noble armies, and they are quickly destroyed. I don't think we need to know what happens to Morocco. I don't think it's even that significant. Everyone knows they were going to lose anyways. But with that, we do have them coming to sort of consensus. They give back all this land. However, the stuff, and like the national companies, the companies are unnationalized, so that's the compromise. But the profits all still go to the crown. However, the crown does lay out a plan, a proposed plan, to distribute all the income across the vast, basically just the Arabian Peninsula. They do not care about what's happening in Italy. And this uncaring for Italy is eventually what makes life much harder for them. Because these two, they're going to start beginning conquests. conquests that these guys don't really like. Um, Also, these guys over here, if you remember, are of the Crimeans. Eventually, they're just gonna say, "All right, we're done. We want all of Crimea." However, there can't. How the people are like, "No, keep it OG." Plus, most of the Crimeans don't even exist. Most of them are just living in the small territory that we conquered. So eventually, that plan is abandoned, but not the hunger to grow. And so, scouts are sent north, where it is said that there is vast amounts of frozen land, infinite, in fact. However, the king looks over here, and he's like, "Yeah, well, that's what they said about the Mediterranean." And turns out it's not infinite. So he's like, eventually we'll find greenery. He still thinks the land is infinite, just not the snow. Obviously, that's wrong. The Baltic Sea exists, but they go, and eventually they end up in modern day Kaliningrad, where they set up camp. Camp is demolished. They head back. However, they know that this land is not infinite, but the king doubts that. The king is like, no, 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 you're wrong. The land is infinite. So Crimean, but that doesn't really matter because near Crimea, rebels start popping up here who are against these guys. One of Crimea's biggest trading the stationary places because like they host a lot of stuff. So yeah, but more importantly, the Mamluks. Now, Red Team's Mamluks, the or as they called the Red Mamluks, because they're like you get it because like they're the exact same as the Mamluks, but Red Team. Anyway, they since they occupy the entire northern coast of the Mamluks, and well, this stuff is just like staying there because the Mamluks can't actually get to it since the Sinai is closed to all enemies, quote enemies of the Red Team. Um, they're forced to get in there illegally, and so the Mamluks do something that wasn't really seen coming. They declare war on the Red Team. However, their only goal is the capture and internationalization of the Sinai. Quickly, Mamluk troops are pushed back. Are actually not pushed back. They themselves retract, as their only goal is to capture territories around the Sinai. Obviously, these guys can't really do much, and a small army is launched just to make sure that they're occupied as well with the small amount of military they have. It's seen as a huge army in there, but for the Mamluks, it's not that big. The Mamluks also, because they know that eventually they have this on their to-do list to get the land back. So they do destroy the border completely. But here's the thing: the Sinai was a great thing for the blue team as well. And now with the Mamluks blockade, the these guys, in response to the Mamluks doing that, actually shut down their own borders, completely shutting down the Bab el Mandeb Strait to the Mamluks. So now the Mamluks are kind of just contained within the Red Sea. I think this is the Red Sea. Yeah, the Red Sea. That didn't go well. Now this isn't permanent. This is only because the blue team doesn't want beef with nobody. They only want beef with the Somalian tribes because well they want all of Africa. They don't care what's happening in the north, but the entire south that they want because they still believe there is another continent down south. Which I mean they're not wrong. There's Antarctica, but well, you see the problem. Antarctica is not colonizable. And even if you do colonize it, well, especially for their resources, but even if you do colonize it, it's not going to give you much. It's only for research purposes. Okay, anyway, the Mamluks eventually reach all the way up here. However, the Red Team is not going to take to this lightly. They quickly launch one of the brutalist things the people of Cyprus have ever seen. Cyprus is completely demolished, while Blue Team troops quickly capture Athens and sponsor a military campaign by the successor state to Athens, or as they claim, because all these guys claim it, but the Green Team, but Red Team only recognizes these guys. Uh, Quickly launching an invasion into Mamluk territory. They capture a lot, however, they can't sustain it all, so eventually they do pull out, and same with the Red Team. And Athens is left in horrible condition. The city, not the country. Actually, both. The entire land is left in horrible condition. But Cyprus is captured, and eventually the Mamluks can't really continue doing this because it's hurting their economy. So they eventually back off. But that's not to say that the thing just kind of happened because the Mamluks, knowing that the Red Team is going to invade and destroy their entire country, um, that gives the Red Team a little bit of negotiation power. So they do use that to annex Cyprus. However, this comes at the loss of the Red Team um, of a major city for the North Mamluks, for the Red Mamluks, and some other territories that will not be mentioned, but that's mostly it. That loss though, that makes the Northern Mamluks be like, yeah, this isn't really good for us. The Red Team kind of just isn't going to do much about us. But Athens itself though rebels. Well, starts rebelling, starts the process. Meanwhile, over here, a giant coalition is organized between these two. It's not a giant coalition as in how many countries are a part of it. It's a giant coalition as in this is so much. This is like around 60% of the Asian population right now because of how populated these two are. So I know Shanghai is like over here somewhere, but the Shanghai in this world is right here. Trust me. Um. Anyway, so the Koreans, they're gonna start getting cooked. They're gonna start getting flame grilled. These guys, they quickly launch the invasion. The Korean king is captured. His son takes presidency. So his son becomes the king during a horrible tragedy in the lives of the Korean Sultanate. Uh, and as he's escaping, obviously, this stuff is just completely lost. And then the Manchurians, obviously, they're going to invade and destroy, obliterate the north because the prince, well, now the king, hasn't even organized or even gained the trust of his armies yet. So most of the armies are just kind of lost. They get pushed. And eventually, Seoul, their second largest capital, their second largest city, so in fact large, it makes up for 30% of their population, right behind their main city, which makes up for about 40%. So yeah, these two together, both of which are in enemy hands right now, account for 70% of their population. But they're pushed very down, and Seoul is actually so important. It's often called their second capital. So yeah, the loss is gonna hit them hard. Um, in no way is this a peace treaty yet. So these guys eventually they're like, okay, yeah, this land is we know we're going to not win this at all. So they're gonna actually start exploring. Eventually they're gonna land on Japan. They're going to land on Japan. However, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that they land on Japan because Manchuria has already chased them before they can even colonize Japan. So after reaching all the way over here, this land is like has less than 1% of their population left in that. So Manchuria and these guys are just like, yeah, you can live. We don't really care. So peace treaty, but not because now Manchuria and the Qing have a beef because obviously both of them are going to annex this. Obviously both of them are going to recognize that the Qing annex this, and then both of them are also going to because they had lands that they promised to each other. That was like no matter what, who conquers this is going to go to us. Um, and then these guys get that. Now though, this is all land that they didn't actually think they were going to be able to reach. They didn't think they were going to get as far as to this amount of land. So they have, let's see, they know that they're going to leave the Koreans with this. They both recognize that. Both recognize the Koreans will be left with that. However, what is to happen to the rest? That is the question. That is the thing that they both can't really agree on. Now, both of them say, let's just draw a straight line through it. However, that straight line isn't as straight as you might imagine. Because these guys, it's Seoul. Seoul is the thing. This border is pretty much straight. But then one thing wants the border to curve around Seoul. The other guys wanted to curve around Seoul in a northern way. Eventually, the Manchurians decide, okay, well, we already have all of this region, so we're just going to capture a bunch of this and incorporate it. But then these guys are like, no, we can't. We know we can't colonize this, but we can spring up an uprising state that's going to declare war on you. And the Manchurians don't want that. So after taking Seoul, because population right now in Asia is the main thing that everyone is fighting for, because they want that populous land, and currently the most populated, I think, in this would be. Ooh, wait, that's actually a good question. It's between these guys and these guys. I think these guys, but by a very slim margin. Um. Anyway, so these guys, they're going to get all of that. They have control over it. These guys have control over this. This is the rest is the problem. These guys are gonna annex all of this. Obviously, no, they don't want it. They have control over it. They don't want it. So eventually, Manchuria is just gonna be like, yeah, I don't care anymore. I'm annexing all of this. So they annex all of it. But not only do they annex all of it, they also label Korea as a Manchurian territory. Right after the troops leave, because the troops are told to come back home as soon as possible. And well, the news of this border dispute hasn't reached them, so they're going to return. And Manchuria, having a direct border, quickly informs their troop to take the rest of this. And so once that has happened, these guys are labeled as the new Korea, and these guys are actually forced to switch their name to the Sanjuk Sultanate. Sanjuk Sultanate. Still, at least they're still a sultanate, but now there's a Sanjuk Sultanate. I'm going to give them a shade of red to show how much they despise Manchuria. That is not a good shade of red. Something. Oh, that looks nice. They get this. Now Korea is weird because they don't have an actual functioning capital that's inside of their territory. They have Seoul, where their king lives, does everything, but that's not in their territory. So the closest thing they have is this, but de facto it's Seoul. Um, yeah, as you can see, the Manchurians are pretty big now in population. Like now they easily secure third place with the capture of Seoul. Seoul had a nice like 6,000 people living here, which is not a lot compared to the rest of the world. But in Asia, there's only like about 400, not even 400, maybe like 60,000 people max. It's very unpopulated right now. Meanwhile, yeah, actually that's it. The blue team, meanwhile, does actually start going more into the Indian Ocean and exploring, but you gotta stay tuned for the next video to see what happens there. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe, or the red team will come after you. Goodbye.